Welcome to episode 100 and Jam It. I mean 116 of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Welcome back to all the people who've been listening. Welcome to all the new listeners. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for the one or two people who follow me to take me to 199 YouTube subscribers. I'm hoping somebody can help me get to 200. Please don't let me get to 200 episodes before I have 200 subscribers. And don't forget, my son told me to make sure and tell people that are on TikTok. TikTok is difficult. I mean, I had to go and cut video clips every time, but I'm trying to be better at that and cut clips. Let me start by apologizing to the people on YouTube. I have the episode up on audio only last week. This is the first time in a long time. I had some trouble. Salute my boy Naldo from the 868 App 868 podcast, who's always helping with the camera thing. But the camera was out of focus bad. I was feeling bad to put up that big blurry video. It blurry like hell, but I'll put it up still, because I really forget that they have some people who only watch on YouTube and who don't download the podcast app. So by the time you're hearing this, you probably have two to catch up on, last week episode and this week episode. So how are you feeling? Everybody good? Everybody had a good week? We had a good weekend and so on. September is over. Look at that. We were just talking about back to school, and now we're at the start of October. I see somebody post, we're in the final quarter of the year. So whether it's your bonus you're going for, your fitness goals, whatever is your target for this last quarter of the year, we're making it count. You know what I mean? We're making it count. We're going to this thing hard, whatever it be. And I hear what you're wishing your best for it to happen. But what also happens in the final quarter, if you're listening to this podcast long enough, you're supposed to know that as the final quarter kick in, it has certain things that we had to do. So let me do it now. Miss
from Margarita, and he wanted to take me to dinner. I said dinner will be fine, but now it's Christmas time, and my table is well prepared, so I'll take you to my home instead. I give him bread and ham together with a pastelle, 100 grams of sorrel, glass of local wine went to his head. He turned to me and said, oh yes.
I hear what he's singing. What is singing? It's the best, it's the best.
Then my visitor asked me to canter, and me canter just for him to baila. He said,
and I love this soca beat.
Dancing like if he going insane. Then he asked for more food again. I give him bread and ham together with a
pastelle, ginger beer, 100 grams of sorrel, a glass of local wine went to his head, and he turned to me and said, oh yes, Trini, Christmas is the best. Christmas is the best, is the best, is the best. Should I switch now to only play? I can't do it yet, no. I can't do it yet. I ain't lying there. I usually switch at some point in this podcast and stop playing calypsos and soca and move on to parang and soca parang music and music dedicated specifically to the season. I can't fully switch over to Christmas mode yet because it has some things. I might have to walk back my my song take from last week. I trying my best every week from now till Carnival to at least review one song. When new songs come out, you're going to get a reaction to the new song and deal with that new song. And Oli will tell me if the song good or not. As a matter of fact, I go tell Oli if the song good or not, right? And a couple of weeks ago, I came here and talked about the 47 rhythm. With Bravo, right? And I just want to remind you that you're bam bam looking pregnant. You're shaking it like you're ignorant, right? And I listen, I laugh because it's one of the funniest things I ever heard. Again, salute to Iowa George, my favorite soca artist, one of the greatest soca artists of all time, Mr. Al Murray. I want to make that very, very clear. There's nobody. You see, it's a mashup fet, right? With all due respect to people like Super Blue Ronnie McIntosh, Marshall Montano, Bungie Garlin, Fair and Lions. There are some people who's really fet destroyers, who's come out and mash up fet. But I hope I didn't forget nobody off that list. Only go remember, but I never see nobody do what I always do, I always come out there with very little effort, with songs that everybody says is the worst song they ever hear. You know my time over our career, I hear people say, he's singing this, he's singing that, and they want to take on Hanana. And that same Hanana now is one of our biggest songs of all time. Because Iowa is the king of efficiency. We read our budget last week, right? There are some people I will get to just now who trying to talk about sacrifice and doing a lot with a little, right? That is what they're trying to say. But if that is the case, they should make Neil Iowa George the Minister of Finance, because nobody in this country in soca music know how to do a lot with a little like Iowa George. Iowa George was never no man who we could say had the most set of lyrics. Sometimes he used one word for a whole chorus. He do a lot with a little, and he destroy more than plenty of the man who's singing line after line after line in fet. I want you to go and watch any Iowa performance on YouTube and take in the fact that Iowa don't do a whole lot of whining, no set of jumping and waving. A matter of fact, he make a dance named the Iowa to just show you how little effort he could just do that little Iowa and destroy any fet. So salute to Iowa George. I want to make that clear. I don't want to know there will be no Iowa George slander allowed here. Iowa George is the king who he is. And while I might sit there and laugh at Bam Bam looking pregnant, he's shaking it like you're ignorant. You know what make me laugh about that too? Pregnant and ignorant. Them two things done kind of rhyme already. Like, why change it to pregnant and ignorant? But who is me? That I can't say not more Iowa lyrics and them kind of thing. He know what to do with song. And I myself, over the course of the week, I find myself in my quiet moments somehow going back to Champion Bam Bam. You have the champion Bam Bam, baby. The champion, the song catchy, the song bad. After all the laugh, I laugh. So I had to walk that back. And then with all the thing, I hear a little piece of champion rhythm from Beanie Man. And I don't want to be taking nothing from those soca artists, or let's say I'm taking dancehall artists and now I'm saying the thing good, but I laugh when the soca artists play. But taking this Beanie Man on the 47 rhythm real quick.
Oh, she stays, sir. Why you are going, sir? Wine you are wine, sir. You are mad for me. Oh, she stays, sir. Hey, girl, me want to tell you something. Oh, girl, nothing ain't the same. Them a wine forget your face, but I true them know your name. That is down without the rain. Yeah, girl, you like a hurricane. Yeah, girl, a wine you bring the flame, but who forget the blame? Girl, when you wine and good up. Girl, when you wine and good up. Girl, when you wine and good up.
I take back everything I say. Salute the 47 rhythm. You see why I can't follow Trinidad, and this is why I don't follow Trini. You know, 47 rhythm very, very bad. But that is not my song review for this week. I'm gonna do a song review every week, and I will make up my mind sometime soon whether I'm gonna do between now and Christmas just stick to Christmas songs, or switch it up between Christmas and regular soca, because I really wanted. If one of my main goals when I started this podcast was to focus on the music, I still do it, and most of the time during the year, my main focus is on Kaiso and Calypso and trying to make the link between Calypso and what we play today and the things that are going on in the country right now. You know what I mean? I'm always trying to see how I could make that link. But a big part of why I get call it stuck in the older days of Kaiso and Calypso and them kind of thing. Even Stacey's tell me sometimes you had to play more popular songs like what people know. A part of the reason was this podcast started during COVID. It had no sort of new music releasing, so I'm happy to be in a space now where plenty new music coming out all the time. So I will take at least one song every week and we go review it. I don't want to do them long time thing like what I used to do on the radio and say pump it or dump it on them thing. It's not to diss nobody. It's just for me to pick out some new songs that I like and I find could work. Now, one of the men who appear on this podcast is a master at the art by the name of Mistah Shak. Salute to Mistah Shak all the time, right? He appeared on this podcast, and I had to tell you this, right? Out of all the people I ever messaged to come on the podcast, the man never asked me, well, how much people is listen, which part of this publish it, who else are this thing, send him no questions. When I asked him to come on the podcast, all the man says yes. And he come to the point where he was helping me structure the episode and how we would do it. The episode might have been published for about 2 hours. Go back and look for it and take it in. One of the best interviews I have on the podcast. And it was about 2 hours. Me and him talked for about 4 hours. And we could have keep on talking. I feel bad in the end. I say, oh God, I keep the man on the phone for so long talking about this thing. So it's only right that since we're reviewing songs, I see Mistah Shak bring out a song for the Christmas. So what better place to start? If 100 done start 100 days of Christmas already, we could start with 100 days of Christmas here too, you know what I mean? And I see this when I see this song, they say is Cubanita Christmas. And I hear this song as some Maria. When I hear Maria, right, you remember that plenty parang songs. There's how Maria. It's a popular thing in the Christmas. But I know Mistah Shak is a lyrical genius, so I tell myself, well, he can't be coming right, you know what I mean? Let me hear what Mistah Shak had to say about Maria, so let me take this in.
Hey, don't play all there, no. Must know with this.
Yeah.
It's the Rasta Parandero. Pretty Cubanita named Maria.
Oh God.
Met her in my hometown, Siparia. Watch me just so and say,
Tu vibra me gusta. I love you, vibes big strappy rasta.
you see Maria wanna nice up me Christmas. Maria wanna seize up
Yes,
me
I like
Christmas.
it.
Maria wanna for Christmas. Maria wanna. Boy,
Shak, easy. I say it's a Maria. The Maria have a little extra. The Maria like it have a little extra in it. Mistah Shak, let me play the Mistah Shak. I ain't playing along. I don't know what it is. Cubanita Christmas. For the Spanish time rhythm. I get the rhythm wrong already. Salute to Trevor G Upright. And the Cubanita Christmas. Let me hear what this thing songing like, boy.
hey, don't play all there, no. Must know with this. It's the Rasta Parandero. Well, they said Christmas time. It's Spanish time. But you
Kind of Spanish, yeah?
sing wrong Christmas. That is tend to get your boy in problems.
Yes.
Let me explain. Story time. Pretty Cubanita named Maria. Met her in my hometown, Siparia. Watch me just so and say,
Tu vibra me gusta. I love you, vibes big strappy rasta.
Oh, that's a
she said
barrier.
she's spending Christmas here in Trinbago.
Oh, God.
She alone in a big house in Palo Seco. But if I agree to keep her company, she'll guarantee the best Christmas ever for me. You see, Maria wanna nice up me Christmas. Maria wanna spice up me Christmas. Maria wanna sweeten up me Christmas. Maria wanna season up me Christmas.
What's it?
Maria wanna for Christmas. Maria wanna, oh yo. Maria wanna this Christmas. Maria wanna, oh Lord. Say she wanna nice it up. Light it up. Maria, wake it up. Maria, and bless it up. Maria, nice it up. Maria, light it up. Maria, wake it up. Maria, she wanna bless it up. Maria wanna
For Christmas.
time. Maria wanna.
For Christmas, marijuana. Hey, Shak, we might need a little marijuana for Christmas if we really get settled on this 4%, you know. Salute to Mistah Shak. A winner for me every time, you know what I mean? Rasta Parandere, can't go wrong. Hey, let me get into the people news. I didn't expect that to take the left, I take the just now, right? So, the budget is the budget. And coming off of the budget, of course, you have a response from the opposition leader, as well as the people in power trying to defend the budget like it's a good budget. Now, this is always a comical week, historically, in Trinidad and Tobago, because no matter what was said in the budget, even if the people who in parliament now wasn't listening, they never read it, there was no part of contributing to it, them themselves when the budget read, find out how much their ministry gain. Them didn't know, them find out how much the ministry gain while they was watching it on TV with me and you. But when you put a mic in front of them, they are going to defend what it is the boss say. That is what politics, unless it's Farley and Watson, right? Where we don't really defend what the boss say, we just do whatever we want in these streets, right? But most of the time, these people just toe the political line. So them may hear what the man say. Them may listening to that whole set of long talk, just like we. And when people respond to it, they come out with it. So let me start with Kamala's response, right? Because we spent a good bit of time last week getting into the budget. And it's only fair that we hear what the leader of the opposition, the other part of our government, had to say, right? So this is from the Newsday by Clint Chantak. What Clint say here? Opposition leader Kamala Persad-Bissessar claimed that the Prime Minister's bitterness has blinded him to the plight of the poor and the working class people in Trinidad and Tobago. My God. She made this claim in a statement on Saturday in response to comments made by Dr. Rowley at a PNM meeting in Mount Hope on Friday. Bissessar also demanded that the government withdraw the budget immediately. I like that. she listened neither, you know. But whatever he say, withdraw it immediately. After describing the 2022-2023 budget as an evil attack on the poor and working class, Persad-Bissessar said, not content with this act of evil perpetrated on the population on Monday, Keith Rowley last night chose to spew bitterness, hate, and behave like a man totally out of control. She claimed that Rowley spent 2 hours at that meeting insulting many people, including her. I asked Keith Rowley to stop being bitter, insulting, and hateful to anyone who has a different opinion, view, or idea from his own. Last night, he appeared completely blinded to the reality, sound familiar, of the suffering, poor, and working class. Persad-Bissessar said the behavior which Rowley displayed was beneath the dignity of the office of the Prime Minister. She believed Rowley was unhappy with himself and is just taking it out on other people, including her. I hold no personal animosity towards him. Let me repeat that. I hold no personal animosity towards him. However, he is no extraordinary citizen, and the results of his behavior are having destructive effects on the livelihoods of many citizens. Persad-Bissessar appealed to Rowley and the government to be better instead of bitter. I like that. But I should, you see, I want a yellow jersey, you know, I should have printed down my jersey out if I thought of that, you know what I mean? That'd be better instead of being bitter. Towards the poor and working class. Rowley said Persad-Bissessar budget response in Parliament on Friday was one of the worst performances he had seen in a debate. He reminded the audience of deals her People's Partnership Administration had made with energy firms, which he and his government had to renegotiate. Now, one thing I will say, right, is that I think it would behoove the Prime Minister, the Honorable Right, Dr. Keith Anthony Christopher Rowley. Where's his middle name? Keith Christopher Rowley. He's have Anthony in there. It would behoove him, it would be in his best interest to stop mentioning what happened before 2015 in this country. Right? I see Faris and what's my boy name? Fazir Mohammed having it out on that can be morning edition. What show Fazir is do now? 2 of them having it out, and Faris was saying, Fazir, you could ignore if you want the mismanagement and what we met in office and all these things, but we are here to manage the country and so on. Dude, that is why people vote for you. We have a democracy, right? And you get a mandate. People did not like enough of what they see between 2010 and 2015 to vote the people who was there back in power. The people came out and say, well, all right, here what's going on. We don't like what happened here. We don't like this. We put in you. You in charge now. You carry us in a better direction. You understand? And somehow, the people in this government, the people who are in power, the PNM people who are in power, are talking about from minister to Facebook supporter to Instagram commenter. The people in the PNM seem to always want to remind us of what was happening under the UNC before. We didn't want that. We didn't want no part of that. We put them on the sideline. We put you. You know, come like it has some kind of man. I'm talking to women now, right? Only the woman. If you're a man, skip the next 10 minutes or so. You was ever with a man, right? And you and the man going down good. And you're liking the man and you're looking for a future with the man. But every time you and the man talk, the man bringing up your ex. He say, but the last man used to, the man wearing Kenshi shirt. People hear that man. I'm telling you, between me and all, right? People hear the man that was with before me, the man used to wear Kenshi shirt and shiny jeans as a rule every day. His only Kenshi shirt. Remember Kenshi shirt? The Kenshi shirt and them see-through. Every day the man wearing Kenshi shirt. People get through in life when they meet me, it's a big upgrade they get. You understand what I'm saying? But you also avoid somebody who they only want to remind you about your ex and remind you about what she used to do. Listen to what you know. Me and you together. I leave he to come with you. What is he talking about? He's still for. And I think that's the point Fazir was trying to make. So what Faris Al-Rawi was responding to Fazir to say, it's valid. All right, you come there and let's assume that is true. That you meet an empty treasury, you meet bad deals that you had to renegotiate. All those things happen, right? We didn't like all that and we put you there. What is the value in continuing to remind us of that? As Fazir Muhammad rightfully said, all you did for the last 7 years, you went for 5. You do, we come and we tell you collectively, we say, we like what you're doing. We go in with you again. We sold over them back. We putting you there a second time. And you still reminding me about, all right, okay. Okay, we get this story. We cool now. We enter, as I say in the beginning of the podcast, we enter the final quarter of this year. Let me make a resolution now. Let me start planning for the resolutions to say that from now on, we're not going and talk about what we come and meet because we in power now and we're fixing what needs to be fixed. But the easiest defense for the PNM seems to be that UNC was worse. And it's reflective of how we vote and what we do. Rather I'd say how we vote is not how we party. But I don't know, I feel how we vote is just how we party. Not the racism part and the division part. But once it have a party, we go in. And if it's a 2-party, wherever is the better one, we go in. We just want to make sure we in the fed. We want to make sure we in the game. And it's the same thing between PNM and UNC. Up to a couple of weeks ago, we tell ourselves we have a genuine alternative in the PDP. I see Philip Alexander. Well, I saw about Philip Alexander. He's still making waves, and so I hear his post-budget commentary. The thing about it would be nice if I could play some clips from Philip, right? But number one, there's be long. Like he ain't joined TikTok yet. And make some short clip. And then sometimes he's just go off, you know what I mean? He's if he ain't cussing, he angry, and sometimes be a lot to pull out his clips. But he seemed to be able to appeal to people in a different way. Watson up to a point was able to appeal to people. And when you hear the Kamala versus Rowley thing, I hope that both of them can understand that neither of them know song good, neither of them know song appealing, neither of them song like somebody you want to say, yes, I want to put my faith and follow your lead, you know what I mean? I was watching a clip recently of Mia Motley, and I ain't sure if all see the clip, right? But she was in what looked like a town meeting to me, and basically addressing the concerns of the community, which we tend to see more around election times. When election come in, people will tend to do a little tongue meeting and so on. It makes sense. And in that tongue meeting, she was talking. It started off very, very serious. And I was thinking to myself, hey, they actually have a clip of me again, some licks of the indie politics that going viral. Because she was saying that we came to discuss this and this is not why we're here. And if we come to discuss the problems and I am unaware, explain the problem to me. And a man who is 60 years old, who two of them seem to know one another. Barbados Small. He basically saying that he started by saying, I have a woman and my outside woman is sell corn soup. So the issue was they moved the vendors, and apparently man outside woman was a corn soup vendor of 21 years old or 22 years old. He's 60. Proudly saying he's 60 and 61. And you know what I found was in that moment, what I found and what you tend to find when you look at Mia Motley. People, I talk about her here all the time, eh? And people always tell me, well, her leadership, this and her. But I want to isolate her disposition and show you the difference between her and the rollers. It starts off serious. The man make a joke. She make back a joke. And she laugh and she say, what you said? Repeat that for me again. The man say, I have a 21-year-old, my outside woman is selling corn soup. She says, is that your way of saying yes? And she seems to be able to just relate to people. Like if she's still a person. While in our government, it seems as though we have a leader and a few more now. Because, boy, listen. If you're a leader, your flock going and start to be like you. I get where you're. Once you're in charge, the flock will start to walk how you. You ever see ducks? When they say ducks in a row, them little duckling growing up to be that duck. They're walking and waddling just like they're following in a row. And it's the same thing happening because Faris as Minister of Local Government vex. Man talking about road and thing to the point, and not vex he talking about road, but vex when he bringing back, he trying to shut down the idea of what we had come and we met, and well, all right, you came and you met that, we understand that, we established that. You had 7 years of saying that. Let me see if we could change that now. But the way the Prime Minister now is talked down, I mean, them song like they're angry, like they're vexed. We have a Minister of Sport now who, I don't know, the woman says she was misquoted, right? This Shamfa Kujo. Her statement was basically based around being people making sacrifices, but the woman say, oh, you misquote her, or you cherry picking what she want to put. And again, the same thing. You're under pressure, yes, and you're feeling misquoted and so on. But I remember that the reporter who talking to you as a person, you see this notion that anytime you're in a position and you start to pick up the stance that everybody against you, so you will always be on the defense. I don't know if it's the right thing. In that little exchange, I think Mia Motley teaching us something about just humanity and being a person and being like normal. That why are you surprised that people unhappy that the price of gas going up? People will be happy if the price of anything goes up. It's not personal. It's not a we hate you or we dislike you. If I go in the grocery tomorrow and them jack up the price of some item, I don't like that. I mean, I could buy less with my money. That's such a simple thing. And I always maintain that the people who in parliament, the people who make these positions, like Shamfa Kujo, like Faris Al-Rawi, like my guy, Mr. Keith Scotland, Rowley, Kamala, these learned people are some of the brightest people in the country. I don't care what nobody say. These are the best and brightest in the country. They're among the best and brightest in the country. So it's not that they don't understand or they can't relate, or there's a certain amount of hubris, yes. But in my opinion, I think we think that they're there for governance. We think that they're there to make our lives better and to make the country a better place. But I do not think they're there to make the country a better place at all. I think that people who go for these positions looking to sort out themselves and sort out themselves for generations so that they smooth when they leave power. So I'll call some names. Like when you hear names like O'Halloran, and back in the day you used to hear these names. When they leave power, they make their children and think them children and them wealthy for generations, and everybody don't forget whatever scandal it was they went through. And while we still fighting up with when the price of gas increase, I facing a decrease in my lifestyle. I had to cut back somewhere to make this gas. They don't have these types of issues. Now, I remember talking to my boy JP. Salute my boy JP, right? One of the best and brightest I know. And we were looking, this was early in the reign of the PNM, right? And they had released, I guess it's something to do with the opposition, talking about the kind of cars people buying. I believe Coleman Burt had bought a Mustang at the time. I hope I'm right about that. I think he was the one who bought a Mustang, and it was early while they was in power, right? You know, they have the duty free or the concession free. Ask David Lee about that, right? And I remember seeing the list of cars that people bought floating around. I don't know if it's an official list or not, but I know the Mustang with Colm was there, and he apparently is driving a Mustang for real, or has a Mustang. And I remember looking at Shamfa Kujo and seeing a Kia Sportage. I don't know why this stuck out to me so much, but I remember seeing a Kia Sportage. It is not the norm to see a politician or a sitting MP drive a car like that. You try to tell me what kind of cars they drive. If you had to call the brand names of people who are in charge of the country, you tell me what kind of cars they usually drive. I tell me about Vass and Barrett or Rollers. You know, anybody, any name you call, whoever was in power, tell me about Munilal, what kind of cars they typically drive. So I saw Kia Sportage, and I was telling my boy JP, I said, one, this is only because she now in power, you know. She now rich. So she dealing with what she could deal with because she now reaching. And I was telling them, I guarantee you, if they print this list 5 years from now, you're going to see European luxury on that list. Now, I don't know what Shamfa Kujo driving now, but I would love for somebody who know to tell me. And let me know if it's still that same Kia Sportage, right? Because these people coming and talking about sacrificing. And you know, in fairness to her, I want to be very, very fair here. In fairness to her, she's right. I think Brian Manning is also right when he says subsidies shouldn't be on premium gas. I have a take on subsidies I will get to eventually. So it's not that what they're saying wrong necessarily. in different times, we need to learn to sacrifice. If your income, due to no fault of the government, was to decrease, you will find ways to adjust your spending and your consumption to suit your income. All of us do it all the time. We don't like doing it, but we do it. So the fact that the national income has reduced without any increase in production or productivity, I don't know where it is expected that consumption in the country will reduce. Now, I will say that I believe that some decisions that are typically lauded in this country are the very decisions that got us to this point in the first place, because the idea that when you have money, you just hand it out is a poorly thought out idea and will always lead you to this point. Think about you and your household and your children, right? I can't remember which one of the ministers was saying running a country is not like running a company, which is true, because in a company, if your income falls drastically, you are going to cut staff. You will pay your severance, whatever it is you have to do, you do it the right way, but you're going to cut back. You're going to cut back on expenses. But the government can't necessarily do that. If the government say, all right, half the public servants are to go home, we have a different problem on our hands here. That's not going to happen, right? They can't do it. They can't adjust the way a company would adjust. And even to go further as to say, even a small company could adjust faster than a very big corporation. They might have more issues because there's plenty backlash. A lot more people will be affected. It's taxpayers' dollars. So the idea of going back to a family, just as a parallel, not to say that the government is like running a business or a family, but think about this. If you get a windfall, your employer say, boy, you're doing such a good job, you get bonuses and stuff, and you start to take from the bonus now, and you are children, right? Let's say all your children under 18, and you start putting loud money in the children hand. You say, well, all right, you will have 5,000, you will have 5,000, everybody getting money, you know what I mean? Every month you come. What do you think is going to happen to that 5,000? When you get that 5,000 all the time, at first it is a surprise and you think, but eventually you become dependent on that same 5,000, and eventually that 5,000 will not be enough, and you could be looking for 7, 8, 10, 15, whatever it might be. Consider what will happen now if your income is cut. If your income is cut, you have a bigger problem on your hands now, because you cannot give them that 5,000, and now you have the unhappiest set of children it might have. Take that parallel on a national level. And this is my criticism. The idea that when you're making plenty money is to get out. just get handouts willy-nilly, carte blanche. Everybody come. You know what I mean? We're making money, everybody come. It sets the wrong tone, and it makes it difficult for when the difficult time comes. And the economy is a cycle. It have its booms. It have its ebbs and flows. How you just call it? Booms and slumps. Recession, depression, recovery, whatever they call it, right? So let me go back to shampoo here, right? I'm going to take these people one at a time. I'm going to start with shampoo. Never know what title could be so nice. Minister Sport Shampoo Kujus has said that while the media can pick all they want and create stories they want, from her words, she is standing by the comments for which she is currently receiving backlash. At the opening of the Takarigo Community Center on Wednesday, Kujus said that the government makes difficult decisions sometimes, but they will benefit the younger generations. We sit here healthy and strong, looking good, well fed, because somebody else had to sacrifice so that we can have now. So then why is it so hard for us now to sacrifice for the young children who are coming up? She added, there's a lot of negative rhetoric out there. Oh, it's a bad budget. Oh, we have to walk now. Or walk, like protest. I saw, who was protesting last week? Abu Bakr. Which one of them it is? Who's the footballer and who's the politician? Rodanfa, whichever one is the politician, had led a protest last week. And they had some people come out and stuff and make the walk, and I expected that. When you compare the standard of living in TNT and the kind of support offered to us as Trinbagonians, you can compare it to what's happening in Barbados, what's happening in Jamaica, chalk and cheese. Again, while the idea that we have to sacrifice for future generations, they are on solid footed. From the time you started telling me, compare our standard of living to Trinidad and Jamaica and Barbados, I don't see the use in that. It's almost like telling me, I hungry, but all the neighbors and them hungry. So listen, I hungry. What you telling me about the neighbors and things for? It's also not I try to talk to my son. And every time I hear him talk, I say, boy, don't watch what people have. You focus on your thing. Be grateful for what you have. Take care of your stuff. I tell him this all the time. Because I don't want him to get into that habit of comparing. Comparing is a dangerous game for your self-esteem. Because one day you'll be feeling good, you're looking good, you find your gap, you're looking nice, but somebody looking nicer than you, especially in this day and age where these youths dealing with a different level of depression and issues and a suicidal youth. Sorry, trigger warning, I'm supposed to say that? Because they live in this life where everything being compared to what is happening on Instagram. So I seen a story going wrong on Instagram the other day about an Instagram hot girl in Alicia's palace and they burn down the place. Next thing you know, there's the racial price and the custom. You see, from the time you start to burn down place and only doing rituals and so on, you scratch off my list. Me and nothing to say about none of them kind of thing. But again, when you're watching in the foreground on Instagram, on TikTok, and in these places, what somebody's lifestyle is, when you've seen a highlight reel of their life, not knowing there's heavy burning down of palaces going on in the background, you don't know. So I tell my son all the time, don't compare yourself to nobody, brother. Do your best. Compare yourself to your own results. If you went to karate and you do this today, try and improve on that tomorrow. And I try to drill that in my own brain too, because I'm not saying anything here to say that I perfect at it or anything like that. I try and just like everybody else, but why would we compare our standard of living to Baba? It does not matter. It's inconsequential. What we comparing our standard of living to is where we were yesterday. If I compare, and I have a new trainer in the gym, the man a little militant, tell you. I'm doing my best, and the man send my meal sheet just before I started recording here. The man say eat a half dozen egg white before I come in the gym. I ain't know how long I'm going to make. And this man tried to half kill me. Remember, my Achilles now recovering. And like my heart, my cardiovascular system, like it now recovering too. Because this man trying to kill me. Salute my boy Dave. But a big part of what his training is, and I like him, he's more than just a trainer. He seems to be an accountability coach, which I know for me, because he keeping you accountably messaging you to find out where you eat, and if you do your next workout for the day, and if you do any riding and how it go, he on the ball, he on the game. I might have to run, you know what I mean? But a big part of what he helping me do is to track what happening week to week. So he said, well, all right, last week he was able to do the stair climber. He was measuring my breathing. Like he said, if you're completely out of breath and you had to stop, there's a 10. He said, we want to be at a 9 in them cardio sessions where you're struggling, but you could finish the time. And I think the maximum I could have done on that stair climber at 9 was about 2 or 3 minutes. And he said, right, so next week we want to see if we could get from 3 to 4 minutes. Because that's how you just compare your little progress, you know what I mean? You want to see, all right, this working, this not working. That's what we do all the time. From a business standpoint, when I come here and I was trying to make projections for next year, I looking at, all right, this is what we're doing. This is what we're currently doing in terms of revenue. This is how I want to build. These are prospects we have. When I was meeting with my sales guy, I say, all right, these are prospects we have. How much of this you feel close to closing? I comparing myself to my past results and so on. So Trinidad and Tobago, the average individual is going to compare what I could have buy month end versus what I could have buy month end last year or year before or 10 years ago. And they're going to be unhappy. Why do you all think, as politicians, I'm putting all the politicians in the same boat, why you think if I am unhappy with you, I automatically on the other side? If I don't like if I don't like this budget, I a yellow jersey now, I a UNC. If you don't like the budget, it's because your personal standard of living could be going down because the cost of fuel is going up. It cost me 200 and something. Now I coming from a man again, comparing myself to myself. The first car I had in must be 1990 something, 98 or something like that. A B12 Nissan. It was costing me $100 to fill that tank. Now it is costing me over $300 to fill. And my car now not much bigger than a Nissan B12. I want to make it sound like if I sham for Kujo and upgrade up the seat. I drive in a small car. And I drive in a Civic. Let me put it out there. So a Civic to a B12. I don't know how much bigger the engine is or I don't know more them thing, but it cost me 3 something. So and I know 3 a little bit. I've seen plenty of people talking about this. What it was costing them last week versus this week. People bound to be upset. So why would you? Okay, so if you're saying we have to secure ourselves for generations to come, cool. Let me put that in context too, not to say that. Okay, I know it will be hard, and we understand, we empathize, we put in some things in place for people. We did the income tax reduction, the increase of the taxable threshold. I forget what it's called that. So now instead of 6,000 being tax-free, $7,500. So once you're working for $7,500 or less a month alone, you will not pay taxes. And if you work for more than that, your first $7,500 per month wouldn't get taxed. But let me go on. She said she faced backlash on social media and also from the UNC and the MSJ. Newsday tried to call her, but the calls went unanswered. However, the opening of the Marval Community Center, Kujo said she was so happy to see so many members of the media were present. She right, because they would not come if it didn't matter. She said, you started her work yesterday and you came to get some more. Thank you for coming. I hope you report what I said and not cherry pick and make a bacchanal. She repeated some of her statements from Wednesday and urged the public to consider the youth. She said the government made no apologies for some of the decisions it needs to make now to ensure a better life for generations. Like, why would you say that? Forget a politician. You're supposed to say nice things. Referring to her comments on Wednesday, she said that bring out the media to hear what I had to say today. This is what I said yesterday and I'm saying it again. She said she was fourth of 8 children of parents who were laborers and earned $2,000 a month. Oh my God. I came from humble beginnings. No matter how they tried to make me out to be a Marie Antoinette. Marie Antoinette was the queen of France who supposedly said of the starving poor, let them eat cake. And I was guillotined in 1793. I believe Marie Antoinette was, they say, well, we can't even afford bread. And she said, let them eat cake. But I'm not sure if the current sitting MPs, including Shamfa Kudros, realizing how close they get to that. I mean, understood, we have to sacrifice for future generations. But also understand that that's a real hard sacrifice to make. And I will get to Roger Hossain, an economist, who, for me, breaks down why this sacrifice is so hard to make and why we should not be in a position to have to make it in the first place. But let me get to Brian Manning. Minister, this is from The Guardian by Curtis Williams. Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Brian Manning, is calling for an end to the fuel subsidy on premium gas, saying if your vehicle needs premium, you should be able to afford it. In his contribution to the parliamentary debate in 2023 in the lower house on Friday, Manning said the fuel subsidy was a regressive measure that assists the wealthy more than it does the poor. It is my view, Mr. Speaker, that the subsidy on premium fuel should be removed completely. Anyone driving a vehicle that requires premium fuel is driving a luxury vehicle and should have no right to a fuel subsidy for poverty alleviation. And that includes me, Mr. Deputy Speaker. In other words, he driving a car that need premium. He went on to say, if you have 50% subsidy on fuel, if you're driving a motor vehicle that costs you $100 to fill your tank, it means that the state will be paying 50 cents on, well, $50. If you're driving a motor vehicle, a luxury vehicle, perhaps that it costs $500 to fill the tank, the state will be paying $250 on your behalf. No, I agree with the man. The man making a valid point. So the point is this. My car, and I would like to say that when I looking for a car, one of the first questions I ask, only taking super in this car? Because I cannot afford no car that burning premium gas. I cannot pay for premium gas, not me. I can't afford it. And my attitude to that might have changed from living in Jamaica, because let me tell you something, when the world gas price changing over there, the gas you pay for last week could be a different price this week. You understand what I'm saying? So when I was there, I was conscious of which gas station I was going to with the price of the gallon of gas. As Trinidadians, we don't know nothing about that. We just pull up by any gas station, Unipet, the NP, we pull up anywhere and we full gas. So what he's saying is, so I rather ask, I want a nice car, yes. I would like to drive something nice and working, waiting, shutting down all the time, but it had to have super. I cannot buy premium according to brand money. So this is the thing. If it costing me, let's say $300 to fill my tank, and premium would cost me $500 to fill the tank, by nature, having a subsidy across the board, as he used the example of 50%, mean that every time I fill my tank with gas, the state pays $150 on my behalf. And for the man who tank taking $500 to fill, every time he fill his tank, the state is paying $250 on his behalf. I want you to understand what a subsidy really is. A subsidy is a state paying a portion of something for you, so that it eases up the price that you pay or what you pay out of pocket. It does not change the price of the item itself. So for instance, whatever it costs per person to sail to Tobago, the state pays a subsidy that maintains that cost, at least for the longest while, at $50 $50 for a sailing. I believe it was 50. I think they move it to 75 now, and the elderly had to pay at $25 or whatever it might be. So it's not to say that the cost of operating the vessel to go there is $50 a person. It means that if the cost is $300 a person, it means the state pays $250. Let me make something else clear. When I say the state is not a separate entity from me and you. It is our tax dollars. Everything that we make over $7,500 that is tax. All the profit we make as corporations. Everything we buy that have a sales tax like VAT attached to it. All those taxes, the motor vehicle, everything you pay in taxes goes into this coffers called the state. So that is our money. So while you might think it's the government and the wicked and they only give me 4%, you see that collective money they gave me 4% from, that is ours. If we continue to give $250 per tank of gas to people who choose to buy a premium vehicle that needs premium gas, when there are vehicles available that could use super, it's nothing wrong with the choice. You know? If you choose to do that with our money, then that's fine. And if you're comfortable doing that with our money, that is fine. But when we do that $250 at a time, understand that that is $250 that could be used towards increasing the 4% to 10%. I'm not sure if people always understand that or see it this way. I think we see tax as a nuisance and a necessary evil. And once we pay it and we could afford a different life, we kind of give it up to subsidize rolling money now. You understand? I do understand it. It is still there for us. These are people employed by us and put there by us, so including Brian Manning. I was glad that he said himself. It might have sung a kind of way when he said it. But he was trying to make the point that Brian Manning might be working for $30,000-$40,000 a month at minimum as a MP. What's the salary of an MP these days? Prime Minister might be upwards of $60,000 a month. We have business people, for instance, who might be making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. I remember hearing Russell Latapy, when he was the national coach, was making $450,000 a month. Understand that when Russell Latapy buys a vehicle and that car is using premium gas, we are paying a part of the gas bill for a man who is making $450,000 a month. A man who ain't care what gas costs. I had Dwight York, for instance. I can't remember if it was a book I read it, know where I had seen it. But Dwight York was saying, or somebody was saying of Dwight York, that he don't like to carry change, right? No, I don't like to carry change neither, right? You see all them sort of shilling and thing in my pocket, I just leave them thing, I had them thing somewhere home. When Zachary Christmas time, he go take that and buy gifts for that or whatever. He could cash in there. But I didn't realize that when he was playing for Manchester United, the pound was a coin. The pound that worth $13 is a coin. So they say when he go and he pull out paper money and he give him back coins, you used to tell him keep all them coin, which means there could be £8 they're giving him back. And he's like, no, I ain't carrying no coin. This man, we are paying a portion of his gas bill for what? We like to sit down here and talk about the 1% and the 1% and them fellas have money and who we paying part of these people gas bill every time Anthony Sabga talk about them last year. Whichever Sabga, I won't call nobody who done pass and gone, you know. Whoever is the wealthy people, every time they buy gas, whether it's for them and their luxury vehicle or for their company vehicles or for their fleet that they're using to bring out goods for us where the price increases, we paying a portion of that bill. We, the taxpayers. So we had to start collectively as a citizenry look at that differently and look at the decisions that are being made. You might find that Brian Manning or Shamfa Kujo, you know, the way they talk sometimes is get to, you know, I understand. But I don't think they're wrong at all. And I will get to Roger Hussain on why the idea, because we get used to the subsidy. And I thinking to myself, right, if you making real money, we gotta do this thing in the reverse order, you know. If the country is making a lot of money through oil and gas and the average citizen is experiencing some kind of boom, that might not be the best time to give them any subsidies on anything because people live in a lifestyle that they could afford to pay for premium gas or to come on the boat from Trinidad to Tobago and so on. And if we had done a lot less of that or none of that at all and subsidizing things, let people pay the true economic cost of what is there. And then when you face the slump like what we're facing now, we'd have had enough money saved and invested to subsidize now. So when people see in hard times, the cost of gas to me could be reduced by a subsidy as an interim measure, as a short-term measure, until we could figure out how the economy will turn around. But we make decisions from a political standpoint. We tell people, hey, we in power, hey, Roman Roti, we go pay half of your gas bill, and then all of we run and vote, and then all of a sudden they're paying half the gas bill, and you cannot figure out how to stop it at all. Nobody can figure out how to stop, because a runaway horse is like giving the child $5,000 a month. And now when you can't stop it, you're wondering why people don't cut back, and why you sacrifice, and you shouldn't get premium. Because when Brian Manning says this, what the population hears is, also, you alone want to drive nice car because my car driving premium, I must pay. And that is what people hear when they say that. All right, Brian. But let me save the best for last, right? I just wait to hear. This is I live in Shogunas, right? But I'm originally from a beautiful place by the name of St. James. And I had a beautiful MP there for many, many years who could not be moved for more reasons than one by the name of Marlene McDonald, right? But we all know the story with her. So to replace her, I heard names like Cleopatra Borrell and so on, Wendell Stevens. So several names are called to replace her in Port of Spain South, where I am originally from. But those were not successful. But the person who was successful is the voice you're about to hear by the great Keith Scotland. And this is his response. Again, along similar lines as what Champa Kudjo was saying in terms of making sacrifice. I wanted to hear what he's saying well from here, man.
Madam Speaker, I still have a coal pot, where I put my coals and I roast my breadfruit. So if you don't have that, go back until such time as you can afford the gas. But don't come and blame you not having gas on the government.
Roast breadfruit. Hey, why? I don't understand. Why would you say that? What you getting out of saying that? What's the outcome? What's the end game? And you see, the way they talk, I don't blame it on the government. Don't blame it. I still have a thing with a roast breadfruit. I have a cold pot. It's like, what are you talking about? Isn't that all you're so far removed? Maybe, again, I'm going back to my partner, JP. My partner one is saying, just alternate your vote. Vote PNM one time, UNC the next time. You must vote them out so that they see what it's like on the outside. But because like all these other outriders and police escort and things like it get into these, what are you talking about? Who cares about your cold pot or a lion breadfruit? Roasting breadfruit. You're roasting breadfruit for fun. you roasting breadfruit when it's a nice time and you bring your children here, children. And you bring them and you say, this is what we used to do a long time. I don't know how this talk. This is what you used to do long ago. And some breadfruit and salt and some breadfruit. And you talk about what you trying to tell the population to go and use a coal pot out of necessity? Because I cannot afford gas. You in charge of the country and you comfortable coming and tell people. Well, listen, now stewardship gas expensive like hell. No, but hey, world scenarios is what they are. Russia take over 3/4 Ukraine or 1/4 Ukraine or whatever it is they take over the other day, and gas price, and we can't afford gas no more. So, roast your breadfruit, get your cold pot and roast your breadfruit. Oh, the government. I don't know why. This is a gracious MP for Port of Spain South talking like this, you know what I mean? And he will say that we cherry picking, but I want to tell him and Shamfa Kajo that, listen, you are living. You chose to be in government. You went up. All you do screening. All you follow people around the PNM and walk behind them for years before they could get the opportunity to come in power. All you choose to be there in a time where cherry picking is the norm. So what you always saying, cherry picking is the way it's going. You have to take a piece of what people say. Nobody wants to hear your whole speech for no 3 hours. Full of nothingness. I don't want to stray too much, but I saw Paolo Kernahan have a TikTok page talking about little help to be on camera. So I followed for little pointers to see how I could be better on camera and stuff. And one of the things he was saying is talking about filler words like you say, like a senior economist, and like I went and you had to look at his page. He does a much better job at it than me, right? And it is like hearing myself talk, I'm trying to see, okay, how do I reduce these things? And one of the things he was saying is that the Madam Speaker term that politicians use all the time is just filler. And no matter how many times he talks about getting rid of your and like, one of the key things he say, be prepared. So he say when politicians come in there and saying, Madam Speaker, this, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, he say it shows that they're not prepared and they did not rehearse what they had to say. They didn't prepare well enough. So nobody is listening to all your speech for no 4 hours full of filler. We're going to take the 2 minutes where you say, Madam Speaker, I have a cold pot. But if you ever find yourself saying that in Parliament, you should leave. But anyway, I want to get to the Newsday by Ryan Hamilton. Headline says, Economist, years of government assistance leave Trinis too spoiled. Now, full disclosure, Roger Hossain was one of my lecturers in economics in UWI, in Lockjack, when I was doing my master's, right? I had many economics teachers like Mr. Ram Singh, I had Howard Elder. Is it Howard Elder? Yeah, Elder's classes was, and I love economics as a study. I like it as an academic study. I enjoy it. I lecture in economics whenever I can as well. And a big part of my joy or love for economics comes from Roger Hossain's classes, where he used to break down a lot of these things, particularly macroeconomic concepts, dealing with the whole society and governance and so on, right? In his class, it was not very political. It was based on sound economic theory, and he was very clear, like, what is theory, what is his opinion, and so on. I like him as a lecturer a lot. So the article says 3 senior economists said on Thursday that decades of subsidies, transfers, and other forms of government assistance to the tune of tens of billions of dollars have made citizens spoiled. So he's saying that tens of billions of dollars over decades have made us spoiled. Keep in mind that those are tens of billions of dollars that could have been saved at yesterday's value. You could imagine what that would be worth today, right? From 62 to today, 60 years worth of that. This view comes 3 days after the Minister of Finance, Colin Mills, announced in the budget a further cut on subsidies in the price of fuel and consequent increase in price of premium and super gasoline, each by $1 per litre and 50 cents per litre for diesel. Economists Dr. Dave Siratan, Dr. Darren Conrad, and Dr. Marley Nat spoke during a post-budget virtual forum hosted by the Department of Economics in the Faculty of Social Science in UWI. All agree that after years of support from successive governments, citizens are now facing, if only in part, the real cost of many commodities. So the reality is this, and this is why I said whenever I did the podcast after the budget, it's not a bad budget. It puts us in a position where we will be facing harder times. But I remember a guy by the name of Arthur Napoleon Raymond Robinson, who made some very, very difficult decisions at the time. I was a child, I didn't understand. When people was protesting and saying they were the cola back, I thought cola was sweet drink. Me didn't know what them things was. But he made those changes and, well, literally, I guess shot in the foot, you know what I mean, for other reasons. But he was not a liked person. But many, many years after his time, and maybe even after his passing, he is lauded as one of the people who would have saved Trinidad and Tobago from an economic standpoint because of the tough decisions that he had made. When other people make tough decisions on our behalf, it's harder for us to swallow. But we do it also if you, God forbid, you lose part of your income or you lose your job, you're going to have to make tough decisions as to what happened in your household at that point in time. You ain't going to be happy, but you will make the decisions, right? But he goes on to say, in some countries with less resources available, there's a different mindset altogether. People are able to make tough decisions and implement some of these measures, but it doesn't fly here because we've become, for want of a better word, spoiled over the years. There's a dependency syndrome. ATS agreed, saying what has happened to us for 60 years is that successive governments have created a dependency syndrome. I think our country and its citizens need to understand what constitutes TNT's wealth. It is incumbent on us as a department to help with that conversation in terms of educating people. So when budget day happens, people have a better platform in which they would be able to receive the information and have some kind of understanding of what's happening in the country. I honestly believe that most people don't. Most people see it as the government being wicked or the government having a set of money that they hiding, or people genuinely think like if the politicians take a pay cut, they could pay 13% rather than 4% when those figures, anyway. Sitaran said in past years, TNT has experienced supernormal profits from energy sales and revenues, but times have changed and revenue and production are not what they used to be. So take this in, right? Imagine you were selling something They used to sell that thing for $100, and that thing now selling for $40 at best. Imagine you used to make 1,000,000 of them things to sell for $100, and you're sweet. Imagine now you could only make 100,000 of them things. You cannot make as much as you used to make, and the thing selling for less. This is the position we're in as an economy. This was the position that they said we'd have been in back in 2005, 2006 when I was doing my master's. This was a hot conversation in academic circles, that production of oil is going to fall off somewhere near 2020. And we could never predict the price of oil well, right? There's never a good predictor. But if the production going to fall off drastically, meaning we're running out of oil and gas, it doesn't matter what it sells at, our revenue will fall, right? They just say price by quantity equals total revenue. So if the price of a barrel of oil is even 500, but we could only make 10 barrel, our revenue falling off significantly. I hope people are getting where I'm coming from. He said those times may come again, but right now we are not in that position. And just to get back to that too, that is what why the conversation is so much around diversifying the economy, because we had back then 15 years to prepare another industry that could replace some of that oil and gas revenue, whether the revenue shortfall is based on a price fall or a production fall. And that is why there was a guy who was trying to see if he could get into aluminum smelting and so on. I don't know if you remember that, but it was not well received. I know neither here nor there on that, right? It was just one idea. I think that we put all our eggs in one basket in that idea. The idea didn't work, and we seem to have not put anything else in place since way back then to say, all right, well, this is the industry that we will use to replace it. But the problem with the fuel subsidy is that it is not sustainable in the long term, meaning that while people vex now and the opposition claiming if you vote the opposition back in next time, it does not matter who in power. Somebody had to remove that oil subsidy, that gas subsidy. I agree with Brian Manning as well. There should be no subsidy. Well, let me talk about why I'll be giving them a little longer too. One of the issues with subsidizing something across the board is that it helps the wealthy more than it helps the poor. Let me give you an example, right? I remember going into UE when there was no subsidized fees for students, right? Your parents had to pay a whole fee. Thankfully, I was in a position where TSTT could have paid my scholarship thing, because there's something for employees' children where TSTT used to pay my tuition. And they do little nice things for me, like employment during the summer too. So I had enough money to pay for my books and so on, you know what I mean? So other than avenue like that where you have some sort of scholarship, you had to pay out of pocket. Ask any student now if the parent, from my time, how their parents pay for their schooling or how they work and pay for their own schooling. There was no assistance. There was no, not carte blanche like that. My second year in UE, they had introduced what is Gate now, but started off as dollar for dollar, where they basically pay in half. It's a 50% subsidy. Whatever you pay, we will match it, regardless of what kind of degree you're going to do. Needless to tell you, the population of UE skyrocketed because now many more people could afford to go to UE. And the university making more money, because keep in mind that the university getting their full tuition for every student, right? They collecting their full money. It's just that the government paying half and I paying half. What happened over time is that with the amount of demand that the subsidy placed for most university places, what do you think happened to the price of a degree over time? The demand push up the price. So people who would have started in my time would have paid significantly less than people would have paid a year or 5 years down the road. To the point where, let's assume I was paying $20,000 a year. I really can't remember the figures. And let me just assume I get dollar for dollar. So I'm paying 10, the government paying 10. If I had to pay it myself, I would have had to pay 20, right? But funny how demand and supply is working. The thing about it is when you look at the prices of tuition, people end up paying $20,000 for the half, because the price went up from 20 to almost 40. So what you would have paid without the subsidy is what you end up paying out of pocket anyway. But that's beside the point. One of the biggest issues, well, beside the fact that in year 2 in UE, it was so much people came in, you couldn't find a seat in class. We had to sit down on the ground on day one in some classes. When you go in the toilet, if you use a man, your belly is work better, you go in the morning, because by afternoon it have no toilet paper and no toilet in UE, because the place was so overpopulated. It took time for them to catch up with the demand. For people who went in my time, it had C Hall, Milner Hall, and T Hall. That was it. It had some apartments around campus, some popular places. I used to live at a place named Villas that had some. Listen, the boom of apartments that went up around UA at that time is so many apartments came up for people to live, where most of the living or the people who I know were sharing apartments. So it's an apartment, it's like a house with 3 bedrooms and one and it's going to Swazet in one room, so next one Josette in the next room and the next one. That's how we used to live on campus until it boomed so much that now people have their own quarters and their own apartment or their own. And one of the reasons that happens is because the wealthy in the society can't afford to pay the $20,000 to send their children to school and probably pay for all the books, all the tuition. They don't have to go and get no job on campus to do that. And they could probably buy their child a nice car, buy them nice clothes, buy them a good computer, high-speed internet, them days we had dial-up. And they buy all these things for the people. Whereas the poorest people, even if you pay their tuition, they still might not be able to go to UE because I don't have enough money to travel. I don't have enough money to live there. I don't have enough money for the books. I can't buy food every day and so on. So you can't go. So any subsidy that is implemented across the board for everybody at the same level tends to help the rich more than it helps the poor. By far, it tends to create a bigger gap between the rich and the poor, especially for things like education that would be seen as critical to the progress of the poorer people. You know what I mean? If you don't have any hope, education in Trinidad and Tobago, you get a good education, you could start seeing your way out of poverty. So a better strategy would be to identify the people who really cannot pay and distribute the income, distribute that tax dollar towards the people who can't pay so that they are not disadvantaged by poverty. But we like these across the board subsidies, and this is what these economists talking about in this article. Yeah, but Marley Nuts is looking bad at all. Marley Nuts. No, this is what happened in this article. They're talking about it, and we get so dependent on the subsidies that even the people who have money who could afford it, they don't want to lose that because instead of me, let's assume, or Gates had, when Gates was implemented, it moved from dollar for dollar to we will pay everything. So if I had a trust fund, I had money put down for my children education, and then the government decided paying everything, I taken it, right? And the government paid. What do I do with that tuition money now? I increase my standard of living even more. We could travel, we could do different things. I could give you a different type of education. If I think name a gap year, I could tell you, listen, take a year off and travel all over the world, and then you'll come back and you do your masters on the dime of the government of Trinidad and Tobago. It's beautiful. Sitaran went on to say, if you had been looking at what the minister has been doing over a period of time, he has consistently scaled back the fuel subsidy. I believe any minister of finance finding himself in the position he did prior to 2022 would have done the same thing. So sometimes you see some of these articles, they're not as glamorous as when Shamfa say, I ain't say this and I ain't say, but sometimes we must read these articles too, because I don't want to bore you to death here with this. But what they're talking about here is critical. And it's a part of the reason that this adjustment period is going to be so hard. And especially I agree with her where she says they have a job to do to start helping people understand these things. Because the more people understand these things, is the less they will, the less blindsided they are and unprepared for things like this, and the more informed they could be in the commentary on this. So I keep saying Roger Hossain, but apparently he wasn't on this panel at all. It's just he was at the thing. I just saw his picture, so apologies for that. I saw his picture at the beginning. I thought he was talking about it, but this is not much different than what he was teaching in economics with solid theory to back it. So that's where we are with the budgets. I'm hoping that people, the marches will continue. I don't think those marches are going to do anything to reduce the price of gas. The price of gas is the price of gas. With Trinidad and Tobago government not in control in any way of what the price of gas would be. What they're in control of is how much they spend on gas. And I can tell you this, there are people in this country who genuinely wouldn't be able to afford to pay for gas and so on, or who may, according to Scotland, how to use a coal pot as necessity. We should take all the money that we was going to put towards helping people pay for gas that they could afford, like Latapy or Brian Manning or those people, and take that money and redirect it to help people who genuinely in poverty or close to poverty to find ways to get out of poverty. It will lead to a much better society. But as human beings, sometimes we're not very good at long-term thinking. Sometimes we think so much in the short term that we can't get over it. You know, I'm a cultural man, you know. You see what I said, a heavy budget song? That make me forget last week that Snakey, the great Heaven Charles, is now the Jubilee Monarch of Trinidad and Tobago. I salute to Snakey. You know, Snakey's a man around all the time. And Snakey is one of the most distinct voices in Calypso. And he's a man consistently coming good. So salute again to Aaron Duncan, who would have come second, I believe, and Karen Ashe, who came third. But Snakey coming at Calypso, the Calypso was nice. Snakey's What You Need Again, Trinbago. I'm reading from this Michael Mondesi, of course, in the Express. Salute to Michael Mondesi every time. Snakey's What You Need Again, Trinbago. An impassioned call for nationals to appreciate the rich history and national resources of Trinidad and Tobago. Bested a loaded field of Calypso heavyweights to take the once-in-a-decade title and $200,000 cash prize on Sunday night in the grandstand in the Queen's Park Savannah in Port of Spain. Salute to Snakey. And I know Snakey was facing some adversity in life. I know he had a lot going on that wasn't running for him, and he was heard us saying he was asking God to just give him a song. Give him a song for that Trinidad and Tobago could love. And he come up with one. I want to play a little piece of it for you. Or maybe a lot of piece of it for you. Snakey, What You Need Again, Trinbago. Think of this song in the context of our budget.
Central and southern range and say this is La Trinity, this is land that we all know, called Trinidad and Tobago. Indigenous people, Spanish and British colonial rule. Many fought for us like Mr. Butler, Dr. Williams in 62. You have to know where you came from in order to shape your destination. So tell me what you need again to know your worth and your significance on planet Earth. And tell me what you need again, red, white and black. 60 runs on the board and we are turning back. No way, no way. 60 years and counting. Yes, we've climbed a mountain. How we heart keep pumping. Only Jah know. Whoa, 60 years and counting. Carnival we jumping. When we down we frowning. Embrace your highs and lows. Yes. Hey, my twin island. Hey, I know you have been through much. Hey, our national instrument, the steel pan, is legendary. The only acoustic instrument invented in the 20th century. Plus we have limbo and calypso, so come around, chutney and extempo. Every creed and race find an equal place. Oh Lord, that statement so true. We so beautiful, we cut Miss World and Miss Universe too. We've made it to the final of the World Cup. Olympic gold, Hazley Crawford and Kishon Walcott. So don't stop, just tell me what you need again to know your worth and your significance on planet Earth. So tell me what you need again, red, white and black. 60 runs on the board and we are turning, we ain't turning back. Oh, tell me, 60 years and counting. Yes, we've climbed a mountain. How we heart keep pumping.
Yes.
Only Jah know. Whoa, 60 years and counting. provide us with enough to live and live. Free education and healthcare, we can boast we have that today. While they call us third world, some first world nation, for that year you have to pay. Our food rated as the best. We scorpion pepper could burn up all your chest. So don't test and tell me what you need again to know your worth and your significance on planet Earth. So tell me what you need again, red, white and black. 60 runs on the board and we are turning back. Hold your bat, 60 years and counting. Yes, we've climbed the mountain, how we heart keep pumping. Only Judge I know. 60 years and counting. Yes, we've climbed the mountain. For carnival we jumping. Raise your eyes and low brass.
60 years and counting. We have climbed the mountain. We drink from the fountain. Salute to Snakey. And we want to wish Snakey many, many more $200,000 and many more competition wins. Now, as we celebrating people, I have a Uber driver to talk about it. But as we celebrating people, we celebrate all you Trinidad people one time now. I see something here saying LA Move pays off for Casey Phillips with production on Ciara's single. Salute to Casey Phillips. There's Precision Productions, right? You're supposed to know some songs from Precision. But Casey Phillips moved to Los Angeles to elevate his business and accomplishments. The owner and founder of Precision Productions, he experienced success in the soca world for years, producing soca monarch and road match winners in Trinidad and Tobago and across the region. His catalog included hits such as Cheers to Life, Marshall Montano's Ministry of Road, and Fog, and so on. Now Phillips, who has worked with the likes of Shaka Khan and Tony Braxton, can add R&B pop star Ciara to his list of musical achievements. Phillips produced a number of songs on Ciara's upcoming album, which will be published under her Beauty Marks label, Uptown Republic Records. The second release from that album dropped today. The song Better Thanks is a collaboration with Ciara and Summer Walker and is described as a feel-good R&B anthem. Precision Productions, Theron Thomas from Rock City, Kevo and Deli Banger. Listen, earlier, Casey produced a song with Ciara. It's not to say certain words and certain sentences is not for me neither. When I say it's song and lame as hell, and it's a great thing because he's one of the greatest soca producers in this era of soca, right? He has some of the biggest hits that they have. And as a producer, you know, you had to make moves. Because I always complain that some of the newer soca artists, I ain't call them names, but they song a lot like R&B. And when I say R, like the chord structure and the way the songs put together and stuff, they song a lot like R&B. And I don't want to be like Beanie Man, Bounty Killer, and them who fighting and saying trap dance all and they trap the dance all and all them kind of things where younger people have to do what they do and push the thing in a different direction all the time. And that works, right? What I think we need more of is the effort to, while you enhance and what's the word I'm looking for? Like change where the music is going, change direction, push the boundaries, I think is what I'm trying to say. While you could do that, and while you should do that, we had to find ways to make sure that we stay connected to what exactly we do as soca and calypso so that we have an identifiable signature when we're going out on the global stage. And I always feel part of that is for us to continuously try to get to the global phase ourselves, whether it's with soca music or not. Try things outside of the genre. Like, you couldn't tell me that Bungie Garland would make a great dancehall artist or a great Afrobeats artist. One of the songs I want to play, I'll probably play it next week, is a new song from Fair and Lions. That's song in more Afrobeatish than anything else. I think Fair and Lions is ideal to produce a whole Afrobeats album and be on the level of Burna Boy and these people, you know what I mean? She could be headlining Tobago just like Burna Boy, quite from Africa, salute to him. But there's pushing the boundary doesn't just mean taking soca music and making it more like something else. I think it also means making something completely different from soca. Let your creative side go, and then you come back here with a different energy and a different feel. Like, people didn't like when Fayan had sing the song Raise, right? But I think it was a real good song. It didn't matter if it was soca or what. It was soca. I would say it's a soca song. but it pushed the boundaries in a different direction and take her out of it. And she's a great singer. Destra is a great singer. Why not let them go and do R&B, do different genres of music, so that when they come back to the calypso and the soca, we could appreciate it even more. And just because Casey Phillips did this, I would like to play one of my favorite Casey Phillips productions. Yes.
See me, the people call him Benjamin. So they want a tune again. So everybody done wet, we chest done wet, we back done wet, we out of breath, we pelting waist and we can't done yet. We can't done yet, no, we can't done yet. We face done wet, we dripping sweat, we drinks in the air, so the place done wet. Call our next drums, everything done set. The sun not out, so we can't done yet, we can't done yet. They say, enjoy not doing it again. I tell them that they will be calling out my name. They say on paper I'm second, but in the heart I'm number one. The people's champion, the people's champion. So when people hear AI, no Benja is the AI. All hands in the AI, all drinks in the sky. Cause the fans them love me, and they show that love when they see me. The people call him Benjamin. So they want the tune again. The people call him Benjamin. Well, everybody done wet, no chest done wet, my back done wet, we out of breath, we certain ways of it done set.
I feel like I'm by the trainer again. When you say my face wet, my back wet, it's sounding like that trainer training by. Now, I just want to say before I move on that Carnival is better when Benja is in the Carnival. Salute to Casey Phillips on your achievements abroad. But please, somebody could reach Benjai for me and let Benjai know we need him in Carnival. The Carnival is better when Benjai is there. And I don't pay for my costume already, you know, on the road. I'm doing physio hard at training on the road. I ain't training to look good on the road, eh? So don't look for me when you see my belly looking banging and say I was training. I'm training to survive the road, not just to look good on the road. I want to just be able to make the 2 days. You understand? And I feel I could play a Juve too. But the Juve will be nicer if Benjai is there. Now, talking about people who went abroad and pushed the boundaries, I have a random story for you. Because there's an artist by the name of the great Ken Marlon Charles. Well, you know the great Ken Marlon Charles, one of the greatest of all time in soca music. They've tried him and they say all kind of things about him. And people just were saying about pushing the boundaries in soca and getting yourself out there. Not just going and do soca abroad, but going and do different genres of music and put yourself out there. I don't know how it could do anything but enhance. And KMC was one who had done that. I know he had stepped away from the Carnival for a while to work on a deal abroad. And people say all kind of things. Me, if the deal worked, it didn't work. But I salute him all the time for making that step and for pushing us out there in places where we might never have been before. You know what I mean? Somebody had to go over the hill and see what is happening and take the chance. And KMC take that chance. Why am I talking about KMC? This is the most random story ever. So I went in the ATM Saturday, right? I had a bunch of runarounds to make, right? And for some reason, when I go in the ATM, I went the ATM in Edinburgh. There's an RBC ATM, I had a Scotia card. And it's saying my account not recognized or something like that. So, all right, that's strange. I mean, I know Stacey spend, but I mean, I don't know what she going to spend. So I went by the next Scotia was close by. It have a little plaza close to Edinburgh gas station with Deli Wraps or Wrap Works or whatever the name, and it have a Scotia ATM there. When I gone in there, you know, usually when you put in, you say, right, I put in my pen and all them thing, the check-in savings, all them thing, that not coming up. The whole screen blank. So I done start to see cards skimming. Because my card gets skimmed at time, you know, so I start to shake up the machine now and rough it up and try to see, well, what is happening with this machine? Something ain't working right. I gone back in Chagonas now. I say, all right, let me go back in Chagonas in Londonville and Montrose. They have a Scotia ATM. Let me go and try that one and see what happens. The same thing with the check-in saving, nothing coming up. But this time I had entered the amount I wanted to take out already, right? So when I see that thing coming up, I say, boy, it is a waste of time. I never select the account. I never get to select the account because it have the screen blank. I walk out the thing and I go on in my car now and I say, well, all right, so like I wasn't supposed to get a piece of cash because my little son had to borrow some money from him when I leave home out to a little money what people give him and thing, eh? So I want to get this man back his money because he fussy when it comes to money. So I going back in the car now and looking to reverse out and head home. I see a fella come rushing out the ATM and flagging me down now. My car done in reverse looking to head out. When the man bend down, he say, "Hey boy, you get money?" I said no. And I'm watching him. He do so and he hand me. Good money, I ain't talking about this. Not no small money I take out, good money. Money we could fill a few gas tank well, you understand? And the man hand me. When I watching good, it's the great Ken Marlon Charles. It's the most random thing I see. It's KMC. Come and give me back more. I'm so grateful. Because another man could have see that take. Because I guess when I take back the car and walk out, when he came in, I didn't even see when he come in the ATM. Because if I'd see him come in the ATM, I would have definitely asked him about an interview for this podcast. But me, I see him, and when he gave me back the money, now I'm so shocked. I don't know if I'm more shocked that I get back the money, that the money come out without me taking it out, or that his KMC hadn't me back the money. But just in the spirit of the great KMC being one of the most honest soca artists of all time, I just want to play a little one KMC before I go. Why not? Yes.
Hey, young girl, you could really move your waist. Come and throw me down and wind up in the face. Every man on the junction on your case. Every rude boy now looking for a taste. You are the most outstanding girl in your crew. Man pushing
Tutti for wine on you.
like a red and king dog heart slip through. Now I'm behind you, girl, you know what to do. Just give me the rough wine. Give me the tough wine, yeah. Give me the rough wine. Boy, give me the tough wine, boy. She winding up, she winding down. She bend it back and then she fling it all around. She winding east, she winding west. Girl, the way you wine, I know you are the best.
Hey, if anybody know KMC, you tag him in this for me, because I'm so grateful for him to give me back. But let him thanks for me, man.
Put your hand on the hip and bend down on the ground. Girl, you're sending people crazy in the tongue. Then you push me against a speaker box. Then you start to wind up on the dreadlock. No, for right now, I can't control myself. I'm whining on you alone and nobody else. Just give me the rough wine. Just give me the tough wine. Oh, give me the rough wine.
You know what would be funny? If I say all this and then it turn out that it's not KMC. It was KMC, man.
Wine, girl, wine up on me, girl, wine up on me, girl, roll, girl,
Roll up on me, girl, roll up on me, girl, wine, girl. And just for the record, right? If you was to see me on the road in Yuma, don't give me no rough wine, no rough of the old man, you know what I mean? I'm sure to survive this carnival. I take it easy on me, you don't go rough me up, you know. Hey, hear this now. I will only listen to this woman very carefully, right? I'm new to this TikTok thing. I'm not accustomed to it, and I'm brand new, and I'm acting very new when I go on it too. And I see something here that I say I had to bring to Ollie. I just want to listen to this. Hear this.
Listen up, all you cheaters.
Mm-hmm.
If you live in the
Not me.
Dallas-Fort Worth area,
Right?
and you ever need a Lyft or an Uber and you get in my car,
Right.
be forewarned. If you ever pull this kind of shit that this guy pulled today, you got the same thing coming.
Oh, more coming.
Today I picked up a guy.
Right.
His wife and his kids walked him out to the car, said, "I love you, Daddy," blah, blah, blah.
Uh-oh.
So he gets in, he says hi, he goes,
Right.
"I added a stop." I said, "I saw that."
Right.
So we go and we pull up at the stop, and this lady comes out, and she's got a little bit of luggage, like a handbag.
Right.
And a tote, a small tote.
Small tote.
She gets in and she's like, "I am so glad you finally got away from your damn wife." Okay. So then he kisses her, and it wasn't a "hi, how you doing" kind of kiss. And so he goes, "I changed our drop-off location." I said, "I saw that." I didn't know exactly where it was that they were going at that particular time. I just saw that it had an update.
Right.
So they continued to talk and this, that, and the other. And she says, "I'm tired of you putting me off. When are you going to leave?"
Leave.
And he said, "I've got some things I've got to take care of. Let's talk about this later, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
blah, blah, blah." Keep in mind, I was about 5 miles from his house.
Good.
So understand something. This is my car. I work for myself. I am an independent contractor. If I choose to end your ride, it's my choice. Uber's not going to fire me. Uber's not going to ban me. Uber's not going to get rid of me.
That's it.
If you are doing something crappy in my car, I have the right to handle it however I see fit.
And you're right.
Well, he things didn't turn out so well for him. I took him back to his house. I drove up and made him and her get out of my car at his home.
Here what's going on, right? TT rideshare drivers. Okay, good. I'm glad we can understand that. I'm glad we see eye to eye, right? So in other news, Dwight York and Russell Latapy have won their first trophy in Australia. Salute to these guys. Salute to these guys, Dwight York and Russell Latapy. Let me read this real quick and then we could get out of here, right? Head coach Dwight York and assistant coach Russell Latapy have led Macarthur FC to their first piece of silverware in the club's history after defeating Sydney United 2-0 in the 2022 Australia Cup. Salute to my guys, Dwight York and Russell Latapy out there doing their thing, putting themselves there on top. I want to salute to Jamaica Tallawahs as well. Jamaica Tallawahs went through and win the CPL this year. TKR come dead last. I guess we had to regroup and come again. This is not a good look. And boy, listen, I don't know what to say about Guyana Amazon Warriors. I don't know. One of the best experiences I ever had is playing music, watching cricket in Guyana. It's one of the best experiences I ever had in that stadium. I think I saw Jamaica play Guyana and I saw Trinidad play Guyana over there. Salute to my boy Robbie, who is Guyanese to the bone but support Jamaica Tallawahs for some reason. But I don't know what it is about Guyana Amazon Warriors that making them reach. Whether they play good, they play bad, they reach the final, they reach the semi-final. These fellas just can't seem to pull off a win no matter how well they play. And I back in Guyana, from now on, I'm back in TKR no more. Back in Guyana. It's time for Guyana to get a win. I think the only countries that didn't win CPL yet, and they don't have much, is Guyana and St. Lucia. St. Kitts win last year, Trinidad win a few, Barbados win a few, now Jamaica win a few. And Barbados still left out in the cold. So, salute to the Tallawahs. All they do good. I just had to say, no matter how hateful I is, I had to say salute to Man City. I don't know what it is. I don't know where Man City find this man child that just going hat-trick every week. And for some reason, my fantasy team, I insist on still captaining Salah. And Liverpool forget how to play football. Salah forget how to score. But I've never seen anything like this. I don't know. I ain't the biggest football fan they ever had. But I've never seen a striker as dominant as this little man child they call Haaland. You know what I mean? I want to be a little Trinidadian roots. You know Trinidadian roots? That Trinidadian man was over which party from another little, you know what I mean? Nobody, you know what I mean? Nothing. Anyway, I'm getting out of here. I see I'm back to my Tuesday mornings, right? I'm back on Tuesday morning. Again, remember to follow, subscribe, whatever you call it. I'm looking for YouTube subscribers desperately. I'm trying to get just 200. We could deal with the rest when I pass that point, right? But in the spirit of getting my money back this weekend, in just after the budget, where $1,000 is not what it used to be. $1,000 is hard to come by. I just want to play one more KMC before we get out of here. Salute to him.
La la la. The way you walk, when you talk, when you smile, when you look at me, girl, for a while, start to blush like a child, but I ain't playing no game now. I will do anything for your love. Just say the word now. You're my day, you're my night, you're my sun, you're my rain, you're my world now. I've got to have you, got to hold you, I've got to squeeze you. I'm longing for your love, girl. I've got to have you, got to hold you. I gotta win your heart. You set my soul on fire. 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 The first time I saw your face, girl, I know that I met my bride now. Never felt this way for anyone. So real inside now. I can see myself taking strolls with you in the park now. Hugging up, kissing up, loving up, just chilling on my yacht now. I've got to have you, got to hold you, got to squeeze you. I'm longing for your love, girl. I've got to have you, got to hold you, I've got to win your heart. You set my soul on fire. You set my soul on fire. You set my soul on fire. No, no, no. You set my soul on fire. Yeah, my heart is burning, burning, burning for your love. My heart is aching, aching, aching for your love. My heart is moaning, moaning, moaning for your love. My heart is screaming, screaming for your love now.
Hey, I getting out of here. No, I'm going to talk to all you next week. Well, have a good week, have a productive week. Everybody stay safe. Oh no, all the talk and all the hardship and things. Just remember that you're living in a beautiful place, Trinidad and Tobago. Forget all the politicians, all the peacock and them things. This place nice bad. Because man could take your money out of the ATM and come and find your car and ask you and give you back your money. It's still a nice place and it can't be nice unless we nice. So have a good week. I will talk to you next week. Bye.